Okay. Hello, everyone. And on the behalf of Endostar team, I welcome you all. My name is Dr. Niranjan Vatkar, and today we are speaking on a very important topic in endodontics, that is avoiding file separation, okay, and negotiation of curved canals. Well, when it comes to endodontics, every day, each and every case is always challenging, okay, and we are struggling with a number of issues in our day-to-day practice. So like when it comes to endodontics, I frankly believe that God is not in mercy. He gives us the most difficult task. He gives us pulp stones. He gives us a pulp chamber height which is small, and there are so many difficulties that we encounter, and the most challenging among them is definitely negotiation of a curved canal. And like I've already mentioned, the file separation is the most common fear and most dreaded difficulty that each and every dentist or any specialist encounters. So I am Dr. Niranjan Vatkar. I'm a practicing microendodontist and micro restorative dentist from India. And to highlight the nuances and to give you small tips and tricks and to understand canal curvatures, today we have with us my dear colleague and my dear friend Dr. Nikhil Modi from Mumbai, and he would be sharing with us all the difficulties that are encountered and how to overcome those challenges, so that there is practically no file separation that you would encounter. Over to you, Nikhil.
Thank you so much, Dr. Watkar. So let's move on directly to our topic today. Firstly, Endo Coffee Season 2. Thank you so much for joining me today. I sincerely hope that all of you are doing well. So today, like Dr. Watkar said, I'm going to talk about a topic that sparks my interest every single time. I'm aiming at having a very insightful discussion on how to deal with curved canals. Most of you will agree, as a dentist who does root canals, there is nothing more satisfying than seeing those nicely negotiated curves. We will be talking about how to identify those curves and the best way possible to shape them in our experience. Dr. Watkar, I would like you to give your insights as well as I go along my presentation. I'm sure your tips will help a lot of people here.
Sure, Nikhil.
Thank you. So let's get right into it. Before we jump into shaping curved canals, it's very important for us to understand the shape of these curves. The best way to do this, in my opinion, is whenever you have the time, go back to observing any extracted teeth with curves. Every single tooth can teach us something new about anatomy. If possible, it's even better that time and again you practice doing root canals on these extracted teeth like we used to do in our preclinical studies. There is also a nice webpage called rootcanalanatomy.blogspot.com where there are great reconstructed teeth anatomies which you can check out. It really teaches us a lot about the anatomies that we try to shape during root canal procedures, and trust me, it actually helps a lot in adapting our approach in treating difficult anatomies. Okay, now let's get the ball rolling. Firstly, these are gentle moderate curves you encounter routinely. These are pretty straightforward and we don't really need to change our routine technique in shaping these. Moving on, then once in a while you encounter these severely curved beauties. Such cases do require us to properly examine the tooth and make a proper plan to approach treatment. Then comes something which I always tell my students about, invisible curves. Usually on the radiograph, you can only observe curves in the mesiodistal direction. However, a lot of curved tooth exists in the buccolingual direction or in or they are multiplanar, or they may be palatal or buccal as well. For example, have a look at this case. In the pre-op, you hardly see any canal curvature of the distal root. However, when you take an angulated radiograph, you can see how steep the curvature here is. This is another example of multiplanar curves. This pre-op X-ray is of the lower molar. You can see the mesial canals are joining apically. When you take an angulated radiograph, you can actually appreciate the steepness of this mesiobuccal canal, which is almost S-shaped. Similarly, if you see this case, you can see in the pre-op radiograph, you can hardly locate or even trace the canal in the distal root. Post-op, you can see when we take an angulated radiograph, the degree of curvature is too steep. This is yet another example of multiplanar curves. This is again a lower molar. In this, when you see the pre-op, you can hardly judge that there might be a curvature here. But then again, if you see the post-op, you can see one of the mesial canals has a multiplanar curve. We always need to be careful with these multiplanar curves as we can't ever really tell if they exist. The best way to judge this is to take multiple pre-op radiographs in different angles to get a fair bit of an idea to what you're going to be treating. Okay, how to judge the severity of a curve? Step 1, like I already mentioned, we need multiple angulated radiographs. This means, in my practice, whenever I observe a curved tooth, I usually take 3 radiographs before starting the procedure. One straight, one mesially directed, and one distally directed. With this, I get a fair bit of an idea of the canal angulation and curves. Second is the angle of curvature. There are a lot of methods in the literature describing how to measure the angle of curvature. I'll talk about this a little bit later. The third step is to judge the radius of curvature. Again, there are plenty of methods out there. The smaller the radius of curvature, the more difficult it is to shape the curves. Like I said, literature gives us a lot of methods in judging these curves. What I usually follow is the Snyder's method. Here, it mainly describes the angle of curvature. If the angle is less than 5 degrees, what you see in the picture, the angle marked S, if it's less than 5 degrees, that means it's almost a straight canal. When it's up to 20 degrees, it's slightly curved. And when it's more than 20 degrees, it's quite an extensive curve there. The other thing which matter while treating curved canals is the position of the curve. Whenever the curve is located or starts in the coronal part of the tooth, it's usually a straightforward case, as a straight line access would help you deal with that easily. When curves exist in the middle third, again, these cases are moderately difficult. More often than not, you can easily shape these canals. But the problem arises when these curves exist in the apical third, especially when the canal bends stiffly. Moving on, the shape of the curve is also important, like most of you all might be knowing. Usually the C-shaped or the banana-shaped canals are easier to negotiate compared to the S-shaped canals. In my opinion, the S-shaped canals may be moderately to extremely difficult depending on the angulation of the canal. However, the most difficult canals, what I feel, are the J-shaped canals, where the tip of the apical third abruptly bends and it's very difficult to negotiate these canals. The main question what everybody asks is what file system to use to shape these canals or any curved canals. For me, I use the Azure system. Why do I use the Azure system is what I'm going to talk about now. I want to use a file which helps me negotiate these curves predictively every single time. Predictively means if the curve is minor, moderate, or severe, I want the file to give me results every single time. So using Azure, I found that this file in my hands at least is quite predictable. Let me talk about why is this my favorite file currently. Firstly, it's because of its file geometry. There are many other brands also which have great geometry. About Azure, the SafeKip, it helps prevent the transportation of the apical third of the tooth. The variable pitch, it helps in debris removal coronally. More often than not, your canals while treating the curves get blocked mainly because your debris gets accumulated in the curve. The variable pitch of the file helps in this regard. Talking about the modified S section, this prevents the bulk of the file to touch the canal wall. Only a few points, 2 points of the file touch the canal wall, and that's why the stress is limited to those points and not distributed all over the file. Neutral rake angle helps prevent aggressive cutting of the tooth. Sometimes these canals which are curved are really thin, so it's better to have a neutral rake angle than a positive rake angle. Keeping aside file geometry, in my opinion, the main factor which makes me like Azure is its metallurgy. In my last Tendo Coffee session as well, I spoke a bit about the Azure HT technology. Let me talk about it again in brief. So file separation mainly Dr. Watkar is going to cover this later on in the presentation. I just want to talk about this for a little bit. So, talking about torsional strength. Now, we all know the night eye exists in three phases. Resistance to the torsional stress, it's the maximum in the austenitic phase, followed by the R phase, and then the martensitic phase. Now, the greatest thing about the Azure technology is that they've kept their AF, which is the austenitic finish temperature, at 36 degrees. That means when you take your file, enter the canal, the file completely turns into the austenitic phase. This means the file has superb resistance to torsional stress. I feel in curved canals, your file should have a good resistance to torsional stress, and this is more important than its resistance to cyclic fatigue because in a curved canal, if the canal abruptly changes directions, it may bind at some point and the file might snap. So if your file has good resistance to torsional stress, it will avoid breakage of your instruments in these canals. Talking about cyclic fatigue, this is totally the reverse of the resistance to torsional stress. The austenitic phase has the least resistance to cyclic fatigue, followed by the R phase and then the martensite. So this means the martensite has the best resistance to cyclic fatigue. Now, most of the file systems, when they're subjected to stress in the canal, there is a stress-induced R phase which is formed. However, in the Azure system, they've kept the R phase interval so narrow that when the file is under stress, it directly almost jumps into its stress-induced martensitic phase, which has the greatest resistance to cyclic fatigue. However, cyclic fatigue, in my opinion, personally, is not that important in curved canals because you're not going to rotate the file inside the canal for 2 minutes straight. You're going to go in slowly and keep the file in the canal for a brief period and take it out back. More over these two topics by Dr. Watkar later. Let's move on with the curved canals. Okay, what technique to use? These are the four main techniques I usually implement to shape these curves. The balance force technique, I mainly use this technique for S-shaped curves. It helps me keep the file centered and also gives me a good tactile sensation. Anti-curvature technique, honestly, I don't use it that often. But however, if my curves are very thin, in the sense of the roots are very thin, I do use this technique. Again, for double curves, the zone technique is what in 90% of my cases I use this. I shape the first curve to a wider taper and then the remaining half, the second curve later once my glide path is established nicely. Also, another interesting technique is the tactile control activation technique by Dr. Chanioti. I feel this method also really helps in shaping those curves. Let's talk about the important points you need to remember while shaping these curves. First of all, like I mentioned earlier, is the preoperative evaluation. Whenever you see a curve on your radiograph, make sure you take multiple x-rays. If you can get hold of a CBCT, nothing like it, even better. Secondly, recurve those hand files. Now, after you after you judge whether your curve is moderate or acute, you can actually pre-curve your files to the degree of curvature. Sometimes you need only a 20 or 30-degree bend, or sometimes in steep curvatures, you can actually give it a 45-degree bend as well. Using pre-curving files, make sure you pre-flare the coronal part of the canal first. Otherwise, what may happen is when you introduce the pre-curved instrument into the canal, it may bend over itself. You don't want that to happen. Also, keep a lot of those K files handy. The more K files, the better in treating curved canals. Thirdly, controlled apical force. So when I go into my curve canals in the beginning, I don't want to force my instrument apically. I'm in no hurry to reach the apex. I want to slowly scout and gauge the canal first and get that good tactile control of the canal. Even while using my rotary instruments, I want to go slowly through the canal. I don't want to rush into shaping it right till the apex. Then comes recapitulation and irrigation. In my opinion, this is one of the most important things you need to remember while maintaining your curves while treating these canals. How I recapitulate is once I use any rotary file, I irrigate and then I go in with my smallest K file, which is the 8K. I don't usually use the 6K. 8K, 10K, and then 12K. I use the entire cycle every single time I recapitulate. This makes me sure that my glide path is maintained properly. Every rotary instrument you use, irrigate and then recapitulate with all these three files. Next point is maintaining glide path. That is related to what I just said. The next point is using intermediary file size, which is the 12K. EndoStar provides this unique size of the file which you can use. Why I want to use the 12K is because from the 10K to the 15K, the jump in size is almost 50%. I do not personally like the 15K file. I'm happy if my 12K file reaches the apex. If you don't have these unique sizes, you can just cut 1 mm off your 10K tip, which becomes a 12K size because it's a 2% file. I'm sure you guys must have heard of this method. Next comes understanding file geometry and metallurgy. We already have spoken about this, and whatever instrument you may be using, please make sure you know something about its metallurgy, mainly the AF temperature, because depending on that, your file will behave differently every single time. When you try to negate these curves even in extracted teeth, the heat treated files will behave differently from how they are behaving inside the actual tooth in the patient's mouth. This is all related to the AF temperature. So please make sure you have some information on your file system's metallurgy. Next is minimal file engagement. What I mean by this is when you introduce your rotary file, you don't want to keep it inside the canal for a long time. You want to go in, do a couple of strokes and out. I usually keep my file inside for 3 to 4 seconds max. Even the length of the file, you don't want the entire file to engage the walls of the canal. You only want, say, around 3 to 4 again to do your cutting. How you can achieve this is by using different tapered instruments or alternating tapered instruments. Have a good pre-planned coronal part of the canal. Use your 4% files, then use your 6% files till the middle third, then go back into the 4% files. The apical third, usually I restrict my preparation to 4% preps because I feel the 6% files are too stiff to go inside those steep curves. Lastly, you need to be patient. I will always start a case with the curved canal with the most difficult canal first because I am fresh. I can concentrate on that canal slowly, and once I'm negotiated that canal, only then will I move into the simpler canals later. Please have patience when you're dealing with curves. As an end note, I would like to mention recognizing and maintaining the glide path is the primary objective in shaping curves. When you can repeatedly get that glide path with while you're recapitulating, I'm sure you won't have any trouble in shaping those curves. So maintain your glide path whenever you deal with curved canals. I think that's it for me. If you want to get in touch with me later or have any questions later, you can get in touch on Instagram or Facebook. And now I would like to hand this over to Dr. Niranjan to take it ahead and talk to you about how to avoid file separations in these difficult anatomies.
Okay, Nikhil, that was an excellent presentation, and it was a great insight on basically how to shape a particular canal. So to add to take the story a bit further, the most important point that you explained here is the radiograph. Okay, because radiograph, as you can say, it acts like a blueprint in our endodontics, and as you
Right.
rightly mentioned that taking different angulated radiograph is always helpful, because we can study each and every canal separately. Okay, and that definitely lets us know that what kind of curvature is there, whether it is there in the apical third or in the middle third or maybe in the coronal third, and accordingly we can take our plan of action. Second main important point to minimize file separation or to shape a particular canal is to use a torque control motor. Okay, so
Right.
having a motor which has a like an electric motor which has an inbuilt torque is very very critical, because the amount of torque which is delivered, it is constant, it is proper, and the file will act in its proper manner. Third most important point to minimize file separation, or rather I would say it is a prerequisite whenever we are trying to insert any nickel titanium file inside the canal. So two important requirements are the apical patency and a smooth glide path. Okay, until these two requirements have not been met, please do not insert any nickel titanium inside the canal. Okay, because nickel titanium does not have its own path, or it does not know the canal configuration. We need to provide it with a specific glide path. Okay, now coming to file separation, there are basically two major reasons why a nickel titanium breaks, and the first reason is a torsional failure. So to explain you this in a simpler manner, let's take an example. Okay, so imagine that I'm trying to shape a mesiobuccal canal of a mandibular molar, and the length of the canal is 18, but I have made a glide path only till 16. Okay, so 2 millimeters of the apical third is unnegotiated. Now if I'm trying to insert my nickel titanium, and now when it reaches that unnegotiated part, the tip of the file gets locked while the rest of the file is still rotating. So this leads to the taper lock, or the file gets stuck, and eventually leads to separation of the canal. This is the reason why a glide path and apical patency is very very critical. So many times we have come across a few situations where we have taken a brand new file from a packet, and that has separated inside the canal. So the main sole reason for this is definitely torsional failure. Okay, so the glide path and the apical patency was not present. Second failure with nickel titanium is definitely fatigue. So n number of uses, so maybe 7 uses, 10 uses, or whatever the number be. So overuse of a particular file definitely leads to separation of the nickel titanium instrument. However, with these martensitic files, it is, I would say clinically it is very difficult for them to break, and endostar files, they hardly any break. Is my experience. Okay, so long story cut short, what Nikhil said and what I am saying is that practice makes man perfect, and the more number of cases you do, you are definitely going to master the skill. And as Nikhil has shown you all the tips and tricks, that is definitely going to help you in your day-to-day practice.
I would actually like to add something to what
Yes,
you just said.
yes, Nikhil.
Like it also, the manufacturing process also has an impact on file separation.
Very
What I'm talking about is some heat treated files are made from pre-heat treated wires. You get these wires and then they mill it, so the metal is already soft. So during the milling process, there are micro cracks which develop.
Okay.
So files which are heat treated after milling have less chances of these micro cracks developing. And Azure is one such file where the heat treatment is done later.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's one thing. Even some other brands do that. EDM technology is even good. Even they do it much later.
Okay, great. So Nikhil, we have one question here, and it is by Dr. Abbas, and he's asking that when it comes to autoclaving of the file, is there a specific number that like repeated autoclaving cycles, do they bring down the strength of the file, or maybe there is a change in the metallurgy, etc.?
See, I don't think it brings down the strength of the file just by autoclaving it. But obviously, if you've used it aggressively and if some cracks have developed, then with every use, the file is becoming weak. Ideally, you should be using them for one case, but because of this new technology and the advances in heat treatment, you can use it for a few cases. Personally, I use it for 3 to 4 molars per file, depending on how aggressively I've used it. Also, every time I use it, I do observe the file geometry or the flutes under the microscope to see if there's any unwinding or any cracks. With your naked eye, you can't really observe them, but with any source of magnification like the scope or loops, you can surely figure out. A simpler way to do is have a magnifying glass kept around if you don't have any other means of magnification. That'll definitely help you judge better for how many uses can you use that particular file.
Yeah. Maybe to add, so any one of you who doesn't have any magnification, maybe microscope or loops, you can definitely take the photo of that file in your DSLR and you can magnify it, and you can easily see that whether there are developing cracks or not. Okay. So anything else you want to add, Nikhil?
About that question, that's it. You covered the part which I wanted to add about the photographs.
Okay, fine. So friends, in case if you have any questions later, do write a comment in the comment sections, and we will be more than happy to answer. Okay, so bye for now, and see you all again.
Yeah, lastly, I would like you to attend the next Endo Coffee session by these specialist dentists from Ukraine, which is happening on the 17th of June. Please stay safe and take care of yourselves. Hope to see you again very, very soon. Thank you and bye.
Bye.